This is Commissioner Melissa Daub, and I'm calling the Committee on Audit to order. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Each member is acknowledging that they are attending the meeting via Zoom and that they are located in Wayne County, Michigan, unless otherwise stated when I call your name. Commissioner Killeen.
Present.
Commissioner Kniezek.
Here.
Commissioner Clark Coleman has requested an excuse. Commissioner Daub.
Excuse.
Here.
Chair Basham.
Sort of here.
You have a quorum present.
All right, thank you. Next item.
B, approval of the October 21st, 2020 meeting minutes.
Colleen moves approval.
Do I have support?
Support.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next item.
C, old business, there is none.
Okay, next item.
Item D1, under new business, communication from Marcella Cora, Wayne County Legislative Auditor General, forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General's Performance Audit Report on the Department of Management and Budget Risk Management Division, Contractor Insurance Coverage.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I was just going to turn it over to you, Marcy.
Yep. Marcy Carl, Auditor General, and if you could allow me to share the screen, I have a presentation. That's it. Share. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, good. If the guests could introduce themselves, I know we have Claire Mason Lees here. If they could introduce themselves, and then the staff could introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Mason Lee, and I am Director of Risk Management, Benefits and Disability Administration, and M&B Administration, and I'm here in capacity of Director of Risk Management.
And Crystal, if you could introduce yourself.
Crystal Thomas, Supervisory Auditor.
And Mike.
I'm Mike Sosnowski, Audit Manager.
Okay, I think that's everybody from our staff, correct, right?
Yes.
Engagement. What you have before you today, this is our performance audit report on the Department of Management and Budget Risk Management Division, the contractor insurance coverage. So I'm going to turn this over to Crystal and she'll go through the presentation.
Okay. The purpose of our purpose and objectives for this engagement was to assess the control environment over contractor insurance coverage. The scope and methodology of this engagement encompassed the period of October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019. The performance audit was conducted in accordance with the generally accepted governmental auditing standards. And our methodology used was to address the objectives outlined for this engagement, conducted interviews with risk management staff to gain an understanding of the contractor insurance coverage process, and obtain and review relevant contract and insurance certificate documents. To provide a little background information, Risk Management Division has three primary functions. Which provides overall divisional program design and procedures of operation. Property and Casualty Insurance Program, which manages the county's commercial insurance and self-insurance risk retention programs, and review insurance requirements for Wayne County agreements, contracts, memorandums of understanding, intergovernmental agreements, and construction contracts. And also property casualty claims, which manages the property and liability claims process, assists departments in the development of cost minimization strategies, and assist in developing and tracking corrective action plans. Our first objective, to assess the control environment over contractor insurance coverage. Risk management is responsible for protecting the county's interests and mitigate financial loss by ensuring that contractors procure the appropriate level of insurance coverage. maintain that level of insurances, and include the county as additionally insured on all certificates of insurance. Based on our review, we determined that risk management has been effective in monitoring contractor insurance requirements, but the control environment could be strengthened with comprehensive policies and procedures, along with a mechanism in place to ensure that contractors have and maintain insurance coverage at the contractual required levels of coverage, and the insurance certificates are documented in their files supporting coverage.
Could I interrupt and ask a quick question? Does every contract with Wayne County have an insurance requirement? And approximately how many contracts do you review annually?
That would be a question for Ms. Mason Lee.
Yes, excuse me, I was on mute. So the first question, I would give the answer that probably about 95% of all contracts require some type of insurance coverage, some more extensive than others, depending on the type of contract and the length of time. And to your, if you could repeat your second question. I do remember the first one about the number, but your second question.
So I asked if every contract with Wayne County requires, has an insurance requirement, and approximately how many contracts do you review annually? If you know.
It's in the hundreds because we get contract requests pretty much on a daily basis. And we review contracts twofold. First, before they're in the process of even going into TCM for approval. So we do review them when they may be at the RFP stage. So when an RFP is getting ready to go out, so that's not in the contract form yet, but it is going out to for bid. So we do review the insurance language at that point in time. Once a vendor is identified, then we will review the insurance again. When it goes through TCM, we look at it again to make sure that what was in the original contract does match. So we're looking at things multiple times. And so whatever number of contracts come through the approval, those we've looked at all of them at least 3 times.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Please proceed.
You're welcome.
Crystal.
Okay. Our first section is the lack of comprehensive contractor insurance monitoring mechanism. This can be found on page 6 and 7 of the report. Risk management maintains a spreadsheet that is used to provide a snapshot of insurance coverage. Based on our review, the spreadsheet could be an effective tool to monitoring contractor insurance coverage if the spreadsheet was thorough, accurate, and completed. For example, when we compared certificates of insurance to information included on the spreadsheet, we noted 5 of the 9, or 56% of the certificates, were accurately recorded on the spreadsheet. 5 of the 7 certificates, as noted on the spreadsheet, had actually expired. We were not able to determine status of 2 because the contractors were not available. An effective monitoring mechanism could be included, but not limited to the following: contract number of ties to actual contractor for multiple contracts, assertion statement that coverages were verified, assertion statement county listed as an additional insured, current, effective, and expiration dates from certificates of insurance, and frequent updates to ensure all approved contracts are included and information is current.
If I could just add on to this, risk management does have the spreadsheet, as we indicated earlier. And I think if they take that spreadsheet and put all the items that we're listing here, it would help them in their monitoring mechanism. So it'd be a great mechanism so they can monitor in the future to make sure all the insurance coverage is adequate. It has county listed as an additional insured. It'd be a great tool to help them in their day-to-day operations.
We recommended management within the Risk Management Division to mitigate potential loss and litigation to the county, enhance its existing monitoring procedures by ensuring all relevant information needed to monitor contractor insurance coverage is thorough, accurate, and updated timely. We do have views of responsible officials, and that can be found on page 7 of the report. Moving right along, lack of procedures to ensure certificates of insurance are current. This can be found on page 7 or page 7 and 8 of the report. Most contract language requires contractor to submit insurance certificates to risk management at least 15 days prior to expiration. Risk management practice is to defer the responsibility to the departments to ensure contractor maintains coverage and forwards insurance certificate to risk management. Based on our review, there are no comprehensive policies and procedures as who should request, receive subsequent certificates of insurance, or how they are maintained in the files of risk management. Nor is there a process for departments upon receipt of the insurance certificate to forward the renewed insurance certificate to risk management in a timely manner. Not ensuring all contractually required insurance coverage certificates are requested, received, maintained in the possession of risk management could result in a risk to the county if the insurance coverage has lapsed or coverage is not in accordance with the contract provisions. We recommend management within the Risk Management Division. 1, establish a process to alert risk management when a certificate of insurance is going to expire and ensure that all new certificates are received and maintained. 2, establish written policies and procedures that require county departments to request annual insurance certificates from vendors prior to the expiration of insurance coverage and ensure that certificates are forwarded to risk management. And the views from responsible officials can be found on page 8 and 9 of the report. Moving right along, insurance coverage not always in compliance with contract provisions. This can be found on page 9 and 10 of the report. In order to ensure that contractors were in compliance with the insurance requirements as required in their contracts with the county, we selected 5 of the 9 contracts to test for compliance. Our assessment consisted of reviewing insurance certificates, insurance requirements, within the contracts and determining based on a review of the contractor's insurance certificate, whether the contractor was indeed in compliance with the contract insurance coverage requirements. Based on this review, it appears that only 2 of the 5 contractors procured insurance coverages in accordance with the contract provisions based on their insurance certificates. You can review the chart that's on page 9 of the report that shows the breakdown of this. Not having a process in place to ensure the contractor's level of insurance is in accordance with contract provisions is not only a violation of the contract, but exposes the county to potential risk of loss and litigation. We recommend management within Risk Management Division develop a process to ensure that contractually required insurance coverage is maintained throughout the duration of the county contracts and supported by valid insurance certificates. Establish timely follow-up procedures in those instances in which insurance certificates are inadequate and not in compliance with contractual requirements. Certificates of insurance not maintained and always current for multiple year contracts. This can be found on page 10 and 12 of the report. Risk management does not have policies and procedures for maintaining evidence of the insurance coverage over the duration of the contract. As part of our procedures, we selected 15 contractors with multiple year to determine 1, if risk management contractor files contained an annual insurance certificate for each year of the contract, and 2, whether the insurance certificates were current. Results, risk management only provided one insurance certificate for each contract, and 12 of the insurance certificates provided were expired. We do have a chart that can be found on page 11 of the report that shows the breakdown of this.
And I want to add on to this too, that while the certificates of insurance may have been expired, what was provided to us, it does not necessarily mean that the certificate of insurance actually was expired. It's just the one we received was expired. I'm sure they probably had valid insurance in place. But we just want to make sure that all the certificates of insurance are being maintained in their files, even if it goes back to the prior one, so there is an audit trail for each of the certificates.
Okay, we recommend management within the risk management division maintain a valid certificate of insurance for all contracts, as well as copies of all prior certificates of insurance for the duration of the contract. Views from the responsible officials can be found on pages 11 through 12 in the report. Our overall conclusion is that Wayne County Risk Management Division through the years has been effective in meeting its goals and objectives and coordinating the interaction of various units within the division and servicing every department, division, and employee of Wayne County through its operations. There were 4 findings and 6 recommendations made to strengthen controls and processes within the Wayne County risk management operations. All 4 findings are considered to be a control deficiency, which is deemed to be low risk. We determined the issues and corresponding recommendations with representatives from the Wayne County Risk Management Office. Management's comments has been included in the report under views of responsible officials. A corrective action plan will be requested approximately 30 days after this report is formally received and filed by the Wayne County Commission. If sufficient corrective action is not taken, a follow-up review may be necessary.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Colleen?
Yes, Commissioner Colleen.
Thank you. And thank you for the report from the Auditor General. On a couple of these, you already pointed out that these are findings that are in the lowest risk category. But I did take note that in your sampling, you know, we sampled 10 or 9 and 6 of the 9 did not, or 2 of the 5 did not. It looks like between having a certificate of insurance on file or a current contract, that from this report, it looks like only about half. I don't know if the Auditor General can comment on that. It looks like only about half of your sampling shows that we're in compliance.
Yes, based on our sampling, only half had this certificate. There's a couple instances had this valid certificate of insurance on file, but what it was is risk management within the risk management files only provided one copy of the certificate of insurance. And the one that they provided was the one that had been expired in 50% of the instances, but it's not to say that the department or they're located someplace else was a valid certificate of insurance. But what we're looking for is they have everything in one file.
So we don't know for sure if some of what you reported as lacking a certificate is actually accurate.
Correct. It could be that they had their certificate, but not on file within risk management.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess for future audits, we have to keep that in mind, you know. Send us your latest one, not just the first one you see in the file. If I may, I would like to ask Commission Counsel Felicia Johnson. Ms. Johnson, are you aware, a couple of questions here. Are you aware of at any time that the county got caught up in not having a proper certificate of insurance that cost the county some money because this paperwork was not in order? That's one question. And secondly, Counselor, I'd like you to describe what are the risks to the county should we not have a proper insurance in place for the contract? So I guess you could take the second one first, and then the first question second, which is, have we ever gotten caught up in not having proper insurance that you know of?
Do we have Commission Counsel on the call?
Yeah, I saw her on the call.
I don't know if she's muted.
Yeah. Well, she probably gave up halfway through the question. What are you talking about, Colleen? But that's okay.
So Commissioner Colleen, this is Claire Mason Lee. Not speaking on behalf of your council, but
I got you. And I take note of that as well.
So not speaking on behalf of Felicia, but I can say a couple of things that in my short tenure with the county, which has been 5 years as Director of Risk Management, I am not aware of any issues because number one, although the certificate of insurance shows the proof that insurance coverage has been obtained and is retained and maintained during the length of the contract, it's the contract itself that gives us the legal power to, either sue or have to have some type of legal action taken if there is a breach of contract with the particular vendor. So the certificate of insurance is basically for our proofs only to show that they have retained insurance, because prior to me taking on this position, in fact, when I first walked in the door in 2015, an audit had been done at that time that had a lot more significant concerns about the insurance process, and the safeguards that we've put in place was to address the things that came up back in, I think the audit must have been done in either late 2014 or early 2015 before I came into the county. Yeah. And I also want to offer a correction. I know it has been stated that we did not have a set of policies and procedures, but that is an inaccurate statement. And I have addressed that in the response. That information was provided to the Auditor General at the beginning of this. But I think what needs to be added to it is that we need to have some more punitive action in regards to the departments that handle their vendors, because we are not responsible for managing the vendors once a contract is approved. Mm-hmm. That is the responsibility of the individual department. And that includes all aspects of the contracts they have with their respective vendors. And so we need to identify, and I've asked the Auditor General for recommendation if they have any, and I've also brought this to the CFO to find out if there's anything that we can do from a punitive perspective if a contractor or vendor does not send their certificate annually as they're supposed to, or does not maintain their insurance requirements as they're supposed to at the beginning of the contract, which they usually do. So those are my responses. I'm sorry, but again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Felicia, but that's just my experience in the 5 years that we have not had an issue for not having a certificate on file.
Well, I thank you for that, Ms. Lee, and I will wait for the corrective action plan where you described that you have sent in some information. I'll get that there. But I would like to go to my attorney for the commission. Are you there, Ms. Johnson?
I am. My apologies. I'm here.
No, it's okay. Ms. Lee, just in addition to the questions I asked you, have we ever had an issue where we didn't have stuff on file? And Ms. Lee just indicated that there was some protection to the county and the contract itself. But I think that was discussing the county's ability to leverage from a contractor. I'm wondering if it leaves some holes going the other way for the contractor to the county if we don't have our paperwork in order. So if you could just comment on the risk management Ms. Johnson, have we had an issue where we had to pay out some dollars in the past because we didn't have this? Just what is our exposure here?
So Commissioner, I'm going to apologize because I'm actually in the building and I was working on something with Chairwoman, so I've missed some of the conversation because I stepped away from the meeting. But I'll tell you that as far as exposure and what's been paid out, that's not information that we would necessarily have. So it's not something from a commission staff perspective that I would know. I would have to, rely on risk management and Claire to advise us with regards to the liability and the claims that have come in. And then, as far as the exposure, what has been paid out, what they've deemed to be successful as far as defending the claim, and what they haven't. But that's not something that we as staff would generally know.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Because in the law under this area, risk management, if it makes it to court, it can get very, very, very expensive. If we haven't done our due diligence on risk management. Ms. Lee indicated the few years she's been here, she hasn't seen any settlement like that. But since we don't see it as a commission necessarily, I think it's even more, it puts more impetus that we get our procedures down pat over there, so that when we go through files, we're not finding, only 5 out of 10 have up-to-date information. Risk management makes me nervous.
Also, I had a comment too regarding the policies and procedures. We're looking for more of a comprehensive policies and procedure that really spells out who's responsible for requesting the certificate of insurance once the 15 days prior to expiring, who's responsible for maintaining it, who's going to ensure that when that certificate comes in and compare it to the contract. Because what led to this engagement, in a couple of the contracts we were doing in other engagements, we noticed that when the subsequent certificates of insurance were received, there was a couple of areas where it was not in accordance with the contract provision. So that what led us to look at this area.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And as you indicated earlier, with procedures, who does what, who checks what box, your report may look different than it does today in terms of risk management. So, okay. Thank you, Madam. Okay, I'm sorry. Counselor?
Just a quick comment to that point. So commission staff does look, when we get like modifications to contracts, we will check the insurance. And we have noted several instances where it doesn't necessarily match the contract terms.
Right.
Or that, it's expired, and then we'll seek that updated insurance. But I'll also tell you that we have an understanding with risk management that that's not necessarily something that our staff should be doing. And there are times when we definitely do rely on the department to actually make sure in the end that those things are happening, because that's what they've expressed to us, that in the end, if we don't have it or something's not corrected, it's their responsibility to follow up before a contract is executed, even after it's approved from the commission, to make sure that that information is up to date. So to some extent, commission staff does review that, and we do catch errors and we try to review it. But again, it's not something that technically is something that falls on us. It does fall to the department.
Yeah.
And I could add to what Felicia just said too, and there could be instances where you could have a 3-year contract, and when the second year certificate of insurance comes in, which would not even go to the commission, that's when we notice that the coverages may have been different than the contract.
Well, I take our job here at Audit is to look at the leaky boat around the county. Where do we have a leaky boat where stuff is going out of the door that maybe shouldn't be? It's hard to actually put a dollar value to that, but the more efficiently we function means the more resources that go to services. So I do look forward to the correction action plan and getting the policies here tightened down. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm done. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Any further questions from anyone? All right, can I get a motion? I think this is a receive and file item.
Yeah, it's receive and file?
To
Yes.
full board. To full board for receiving and filing.
Yeah, yes, I move that we accept this report and forward it to the full board for receipt and filing.
Support.
All right,
Ooh,
it's been moved
Hi,
and
Ray.
supported. Oh, hi, Ray. All right, all of those in favor of receive and file, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item number 2.
Item 2, communication from Wayne County Legislative Auditor General forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General status schedule on outstanding issues and recommendations and reports issued by the Office of Legislative Auditor General.
And if you allow me to share the screen, I'll put the status schedule up. Good. Okay, what you have before you today, this is our status schedule of all the outstanding issues and recommendations that the OAG has, and may go back, could be possibly 10 years, maybe not quite that long. But what we've done is we've broken it up into 3 sections. So these are only issues, findings, and recommendations from our actual audit reports. So we broke it down into 3 sections. The first one is issues and recommendations where pending action has not been taken or they're no longer applicable. These are ones where we haven't requested the corrective action plan, or else we requested but haven't received it yet. So I'll go through them briefly. Then the second section is issues and recommendations where action was not implemented. There was a corrective action plan. We assess it and determined that management didn't implement the recommendation, so they've accepted the risk. And then our third area is issues where corrective action has been, a corrective action plan was requested, it's been assessed, and the action is in process. So depending on the risk and the number of resources we have in our office, we'll come back and do a follow-up report on those recommendations. I just wanted to highlight a couple items. Hopefully it comes up right. Okay, these are the ones that are pending. We haven't received the corrective action, or haven't even requested the corrective action plan. Some of these are old, but there's a couple on here I just wanted to highlight. The Telecommunications Services, this is where we issued the report regarding the cell phones. And I think if you guys remember from a couple years ago, where we had some of the cell phones within county had been stolen. So we were given management time to get their corrective action in place, and we have sent our request for the corrective action. We should be assessing this one probably within the next 30 to 60 days. There's one set of, here's another example. This were payments made without an authorized contract. This was one incident with the prosecuting attorney's office with the contract where payments were made without a valid contract. There was no reason to assess this corrective action because it was a one-time occurrence, so we'd be wasting our resources assessing the action here. And that would be also the same with the right of first refusal program. We determined that it wasn't necessary to assess the corrective action on this program because the program was going away, so we didn't want to waste our resources on that. The CDBG program, because they revamped the program, we're giving the administration a chance to implement the new program. Then we're going to come back and assess the new program on the CDBG grant. We do have one item on here. I know the chair of the commission is very concerned about this. Was on the vital services within the county clerk's office, we did receive a corrective action plan. We assessed the action taken by the county clerk's office. All of the items, I believe, are in process, except for the one item that still, we're labeling it as open because we believe the risk is so high that we need to address this one. And once we can, this was the reconciliation of the birth certificates. We will be meeting with the clerk's office at the beginning of the year to determine if that reconciliation is possible, and then reporting back to the commission on that item. The WIC program we had, before we had gone out in March, we had requested the corrective action plan from the WIC program, but they did ask us based on the current pandemic if they could put that one on hold, and we agreed that it was more important for their other areas to work on rather than working on the corrective action plan. So that one's on hold. Then our next group, which I said were a lot of items here. These are the ones that management has accepted the risk by not implementing. Well, management may have accepted the risk by not implementing. There's not a lot of them here, and many of them are quite old. What we'll do is if we go back into that area, we will also look at these recommendations at that time to see if there's been any change in the status. Like I said, many of them are 10 years old on here. And the rest of them, these are the ones that are in process, and it'll depend upon the resources in the office. We will come back and assess these and determine whether a follow-up report needs to be completed. So that's really, this one you can go through them and see if you have any questions, you can ask me about them. Also, if we're like, for example, the Tether program, if we were to do another engagement on the Tether program, part of our procedures would be to assess the issues and recommendations that are outstanding to determine if any action's been taken. So that you'll get another chance to look at them if we're in that area again. So
Okay,
that's
that's it.
status report.
All right, thank you. Questions from the commissioners? All right.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Colleen?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. To the Auditor General, when I look at the distribution, I understand your one spreadsheet, is awaiting corrective action. But it looks like the percentages of those resolved and unresolved have gone up this year, that there's more unresolved ones than we've had in previous years. Do I have a correct impression of that?
No, I think we're working on our annual report right now. And right now, when I looked at it on Friday, I think we're probably like 95% based on so these are some that go way back 10 years, what's on this schedule. We leave everything on the schedule till it's completely implemented.
Okay, I'll wait till you get the complete report because I didn't want to, with COVID and everything, I know that puts more strain on the whole system. But I would hate to see our batting percentage slip.
No, when I looked at it on Friday, I think we're about 95%.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Can I get a motion on this item?
Madam Chair, I'll move that we accept this report and forward it to the full board for receive and file.
Support.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Can we go back to the agenda? Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item number 3.
Item 3, communication from Wayne County Legislative Auditor General forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General status schedule on identified findings and the planned corrective action from the county's single audit for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2019.
I wasn't going to put this one up on the screen. I don't think it's really necessary. What this is a status schedule, and I think it's been requested at prior meetings. These are the single audit findings from the fiscal year 2019 single audit report that was done by Plan Moran. But what we're trying to do is on a go-forward basis, we will have a schedule of all the single audit findings, and they'll stay on the schedule until they completely come off. Many of these on here are repeat findings. But what we'd like to do is, because these are Plan Moran findings, and Plan Moran will be following up on these when they do their CAFR for 2020, but we'd like to have some type of a schedule so we can have them on the schedule, report to the committee, maybe quarterly, work with management and budget to kind of get an idea of where they are for the corrective action. And then when Plan Moran reports out for the fiscal year 2020, we can determine if they've been addressed or not. And if they are still repeat findings, again, they'll stay on the schedule. We'll just keep the process going.
Okay. All right, great. Can I get a motion? Or I'm sorry, any questions on this before we move forward? All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
All right,
Support, Colleen.
thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Okay. So now we are moving on to E.
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
To my
I have some.
knowledge, there are none. Oh,
I
okay,
have
great.
some.
Thank
We
you.
have a new addition to our office, Melinda Hayner. She comes to us with a wealth of experience. She worked for the county for a number of years, and she also worked at the Airport Authority. So I think she's going to be a great addition to our office. She started on November 16th. We have her on the Zoom meeting. If she'd like to talk a little bit about herself, I think the committee would like to meet her.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm excited to be back with the county. I've spent the last 4 years at the airport, and prior to that, I was with the county almost 8 years. Little bit of time in register of deeds, most of the time in management and budget.
Great. Well, thank you. Welcome back. It's
Thank
good to
you.
be on board.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, if I may, Madam Chair, she has a very bright, young, energetic stair climber. Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair, I'll also comment. Yeah, thanks for joining us here in the Auditor General's office, and welcome to the People's Branch of county government. I know you've been out there in all the departments and all that kind of stuff, but this is the People's Branch, so welcome.
Thank you.
We're excited to have her.
I bet.
Okay, so moving on to item number F, or letter F.
Public comments?
Okay, did we receive any emails?
No, we haven't received any emails.
Okay, would you unmute everybody so that we can see if there's any public comments?
Everyone's unmuted.
Thank you. Does anyone have any public comments? Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment today? All right, I'm going to ask one more time. Anyone from the public who would like to make a comment today? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to G.
Adjournment.
Adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm giving you one, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.